Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having great. Today's Tuesday. Man, busy Tuesday today. Obviously, Bitcoin pumped quite a bit. We had a new all-time high above 69,000, and then it crashed down, and then we saw MicroStrategy crash down. We saw the miners crash a little bit too. Not as bad as MicroStrategy did, but we did crash a little bit here. It was much better than I was expecting. So that's a good thing. Maybe we are kind of getting out of the weeds here with the Bitcoin miners a little bit, but we'll see. But we do have a lot of stuff to talk about. It's going to be a long video. Chapter's going to be down in the bottom for you guys as always. Hopefully you guys brought some popcorn because it's going to be a long one. But here's what we got. We got Argo to talk about. We got Cipher. We got Core Scientific, DMG, Hot 8, Marathon, and Riot. All reported either the production updates today or financial results. So we have that to go over. And we'll get through it as fast as we can. So I won't waste your guys' time too much, okay? But as always, you know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research and invest in following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And also, if there's any corrections that need to be made, those will be posted on Discord, which is through Patreon and YouTube, community posts, and Twitter as well. So I'm just keeping an eye on the numbers here today because there was a lot of stuff that I had to enter in. So if there's a mistake, it's more than likely that I made one today than anything else. But let's get into it here. So here's the screen here right now. Bitcoin, like I said, peaked a new all-time high today. It squeaked it out quite nicely here. It got up to approximately $69,324.58 before it started to fall back down. And that's kind of small there for you guys. If we can zoom this in a little bit, make it a little bit better. There we go. And then zoom in on it. We can see how it actually worked out. So you can see, let's look at the 1 hour chart because the 1 hour chart is a lot better looking. So we came down a little bit here over the night hours in the morning. We kind of pumped here right at pretty much right at the open, it looks like at 8:30, 9 o'clock. When we opened on the markets, things started to take off. We got to 69,324, and then we fell. And we fell pretty good hour after hour. And I mean, look at this candle here. This was a crazy candle over here. We went all the way back down, wicked back up, and then we came back down. We're kind of bouncing between these lines here a little bit. Fell some more. It looks like we fell to the 200 moving average here on the 1 hour chart at least. So that'd be 200 1 hour chart averages. Fell back down to that, fell below it, bounced off of it, and we bounced off of it since then. If we look at the daily, however, we can see here that we are still nicely above our support, which is at 61,000 right now. So that's good at least, right? We fell below it. I mean, we had a huge candle there. We went down to 59,000. So basically a $10,000 swing in today's trading, which was huge. But we did get back above it. And now we're at, well, we closed at, what did we close at? We closed at 63,800. We are right now at 63,190, so not too far off from where we were. If we look at MicroStrategy here, a lot of you guys were talking about that one, how that one's pumping up and Bitcoin's pumping up, but the miners aren't pumping up. Well, you can see, obviously, MicroStrategy had a nice correction here today. It was down today, $283 on the close. It was down probably a little more than that. It was a low of 1,035. It was down 21% on the day. Bitcoin was only down towards the end of the day here. It closed. If we go back to Bitcoin, Bitcoin was only down 6.67%. So basically almost a 4x on MicroStrategy going down. And we've seen this before. And I think I showed this to you guys in yesterday's video. If we look at the numbers here that we have on Bitcoin, comparing it to MicroStrategy, put that in there as well. You can see here how that has played out. You can see sometimes MicroStrategy runs up pretty hot, then it usually comes back down to being in closer range with Bitcoin. And it kind of follows Bitcoin a little bit here, and then it starts pumping back up, and then it falls back down, follows more in line with Bitcoin a little bit here, and then like recently we had a huge pump up, and now we're having a pretty big correction. So I wouldn't be surprised if we come back down a little bit more on MicroStrategy. If that's the case. We've also seen it obviously with the miners here. The miners sometimes lag or front run what's going to happen with Bitcoin sometimes. Sometimes we have the miners crashing before Bitcoin does itself. Maybe that's what just happened this past week, where we had the miners do pretty well in the last Monday, not yesterday, but the previous Monday to that. Where the miners were up huge, and then they crashed throughout the week here. So maybe they were front running a little bit. You could have had some selling in there. We could have had some shorts in there. We could have had some reallocation of funds from miners into MicroStrategy, into altcoins, all that stuff. And that's part of the game. We've seen this all the time. Nothing to be frightened of. Obviously, if you're day trading, it's obviously more painful. If you're a longer term investor, I would say investors are long term. If you're a trader, you're a daily trading. That's obviously a little bit more easy to digest because you're looking at a much longer time frame. I'm a long-term investor, so I invest for a longer period of time, and I'm not too worried about these kind of opportunities or these dips or anything like that. I look at it as buying opportunities. So we'll see if we continue to dip a little bit here, but I think maybe the miners are kind of bottoming out a little bit here, but we'll see where Bitcoin goes and where the miners might go going forward. But obviously the miners today had a pretty good day comparing it to Bitcoin if you look at it that way. Like I said, Bitcoin was down 6%, something like that at the end. And the miners kind of followed it for the most part. Some were out down 13%, like Marathon was down 13, Iron was down 10, Hut was down 10. Who else was down quite a bit here? Stronghold was down 11%. Then you got Argo down 18%. So some were obviously doing worse than Bitcoin, and others were just kind of following Bitcoin along down the path to lower price points. Okay, but we'll see how things play out tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day. We're still early in this cycle, really early. I mean, we're still before the halving event. Bitcoin's still pumping pretty good here. We needed a little correction. I think it's healthy. So I'm not too worried about it right now. Okay, but we'll leave it at that. Let's get into the news that we do have here. We have a lot, so we'll try to fly through this as fast as we can and cover everything that we need to cover. So Argo blockchain announces sale of Mirabel, Quebec data center and February operational update. It's almost like they're winding down their operations. It sounds like it. They need some more cash, so we'll see if they can survive the halving event. But I think that mainly depends on where Bitcoin is at that point. Okay, so Argo today announced that it has entered into an agreement for the sale of its data center located in Mirabel, Quebec. The total consideration of $6.1 million, all references to dollar are USD, being derived from the Canadian dollar amounts at an exchange rate of 74.74. Mirabel facility has 5 megawatts electricity capacity, implying a 1.2 million per megawatt sale price for the transaction, which is kind of high. Recently we saw Marathon buy for like 485 per megawatt, 485,000 per megawatt. Who else did we see? We saw CleanSpark buy for like 300 some, I think. So that definitely seems like quite a lot there. But nonetheless, the net proceeds from the transaction are expected to first repay the Mirabel facility's outstanding mortgage in full, with the remainder expected to be used to repay debt owed to Galaxy Digital. And then the transaction is expected to strengthen Argo's balance sheet, reducing outstanding debt by $5.4 million. The Galaxy debt balance as of 29 February 2024, with pro forma adjustments for the transaction and subsequent debt repayment, is $14 million, with a 60% reduction from the original Galaxy debt balance of $35 million. So that's good there, but they still have quite a bit of debt there. And then here's the pro forma unaudited debt balances. And then importantly, the transaction enables the company to deliver the balance sheet with minimal impact to the company's revenue. Following the transaction, Argo will maintain ownership of all mining machines currently located at the Mirabel facility. The company is in the process of relocating the machines to its Bayou-Combe facility and anticipates selling certain prior generation miners, representing approximately 140 petahash going forward. The company's total hash rate capacity is expected to be at 2.7 exahash, so about 100 petahash lower than where they are right now. Okay, and I think that was basically it. Oh, here. February updates, almost forgot this. So the company mined 92 Bitcoin in February. The 21% reduction in daily Bitcoin production compared to the prior month was primarily due to the maintenance-related outage at the Cottonwood substation, which is owned and operated by an unaffiliated third party. Total downtime for the outage was approximately 77 hours, or 11% of the month. Okay, so that is it for that one. Let's take a look at the numbers that we do have here for them. I don't think there was anything else here that was significant. You guys can obviously read that if you want. But let's get into the numbers here on Argo. So Argo has about 58 million shares outstanding. We're waiting, obviously, for them to report their quarterly results. Market cap is 103 million right now, based on the stock price of $1.79. The performance of the last 12 weeks hasn't been that great. 12% from 12 weeks ago. 8 weeks, they're up 13%. 4 weeks ago, they're up 6.8. And then last week, they were up 10.48. So they're okay. They're not great. They're not too bad either. BTC production here, you can see, has been coming down. Obviously, we had a nice increase here in production ever since August here through December, and then it fell back down, or it's falling back down. Obviously, December had a lot of transaction fees being added to it. They may have a hodl of something. They reported, I think, having something on there, but it was a BTC equivalent, so I don't know if it's actual BTC or if it's equivalent to BTC on it. Month over month BTC production here, BTC hodl as well. You can see that their hodl has been coming down. They're pretty much selling everything that they mine. And then some, they were doing that as well, trying to stay afloat. BTC per exahash efficiency down to 32.8. We want to see the miners around the 44, probably like in the mid 40s, I think, or high 40s for February if we can. So they're definitely low on that. So efficiency hasn't been great. BTC sold. They sold everything that they mined. Hash rate here, 2.8, and then we'll lower them down to 2.7 when they report that they're down to that. Monthly Bitcoin revenue here peaked in December with 6.59 million, and then it's been coming back down here, which is not a good sign. Monthly hash rate difference, you can see that their hash rate grew in July, August, and September, and then it's been flat pretty much the rest of the year, and prior to that, it's been flat. BTC sold value as well, what they sold. And then coming down here, if we look at institutions and analysts, it actually increased here. So that's kind of surprising that 42 institutions now own them, 2.1 million shares, 3.7% of the company, but we still have the same buy ratings for buy analysts with 1 buy rating, 3 hold ratings, 1 underperform rating at price target of $3, $2.04, and $1.20. On that one, as far as what they mined here in the month of February, looks like they were mining for about 18.8 days based on what I can figure out what they have installed and running. And maybe these, I don't know if maybe these 65 terahash miners aren't running anymore. Probably should take those out. I don't even know. Well, they might be still profitable with the price of Bitcoin right now. So overall, with those being included in there, but there isn't too much. It's only 65 petahash. It's not too much, but they're only operating for 18.8 days or so. I added about 256,000 in Bitcoin transaction fees for the month here. They got us to the 4.58 Bitcoin in 4.58 million in revenue, which coincides with basically the average Bitcoin price in February as well, times the BTC they mined, and that's kind of the way we figure things out on that. Okay, so that's that part of it. If we look forward to the next 12 months and we use basically the revenue that was generated in February, multiply that times the 1 month before the halving event at 100%, and then 11 months after the halving event at 50%, we're looking at their stock being between $1.28 and $1.93. Not much growth there in them with the PE or PS5, however you want to use that. And if we look at the last 3 quarters in the current quarter we're in, I am between $2.41 to $3.61. They're currently at $1.79. I think they're pretty fairly valued right now as it is. Not much growth going there. We'll see if they can survive the halving. We'll run some numbers on them once we get some more data on them. If they report their quarterly results as well, that will help us see how their operational costs are, things like that. But right now, I have a big question mark whether or not they survive the halving or not, right? Knowing that they don't have pretty much any facilities except for the Baycombe facility, I think, right now. And then the other facility that they're hosting all their machines at is with Galaxy Digital. They owned that facility in the past, but they sold it or gave it to Galaxy Digital to pay off some debt. So they're not in a good shape right now, but we'll see how things progress going forward for them. Okay, so that's it on Argo. Let's go to the next one here. Next one is Cipher Mining provides 4th quarter and full year 2023 business update. You guys can take a look at all of these announcements here within it. I didn't find anything that was particularly interesting or noteworthy that I wanted to basically put out there. I figured we'd just take a look at the numbers that we do have for them, and we'll get into the next one. So if we look at Cipher here, Cipher has 286 million as reported as of, was this February 30th or not February, maybe February 30th, whenever they reported. And they reported today, but the numbers that are included in the SEC filing state the actual date as of when they have this amount. So that's obviously the most up-to-date information that we have. So 286 million shares, that equates to 845 million in market cap. Stock price is at $2.85. Their performance also hasn't been that great here over the last 12 weeks. They're only up 18% from 12 weeks ago. They're down 5.2 from 8 weeks ago. From 4 weeks ago, they're down 7.8, and last week they were only up 1.98%. So not the best numbers there. Current hash rate 6.4 exahash, and this is for self-mining. This does not include the other facilities that they have also that are joint ventures. Future hash rate is supposed to be 16.8. Hash rate left about 10 exahash. So they do have a lot of growth here left in them, which is good. BTC HODL is 1,433. That's valued at 91 million right now. Excuse me, with Bitcoin being at 60-some thousand. And then BTC production here, you can see that their best month was in May of last year. May also had a bunch of transaction fees being added to it as well. So a lot of the miners benefited at that point. And then their second best month was in December with 465, and then it's been coming back down here ever since then. We've obviously seen transaction fees decrease month over month here recently. Okay, month over month difference between BTC mined here. You can see that BTC HODL has been increasing, which is nice to see, especially as we're going into the HODL. I've always stated that there's a time to HODL and a time to sell. Before the halving, that's the time to HODL more and more as you can. And then obviously you want to use that HODL in the bull run and start selling a little bit more of it as you get higher and higher and higher, and then probably sell more when prices are even going down. Okay, BTC per exahash efficiency, 45, so that's pretty good, right? That's kind of where we want the miners to be for the most part, in the 40s, somewhere in there. We'll see which one came out on top for the month of February once everybody's done reporting. BTC sold, they actually didn't sell too much here this month, only 33. Hash rate increased a little bit here to 7.4 total. That's with joint venture stuff. And then revenue here, you can see that as well. That has increased a little bit here from January, which is also nice to see. Hash rate difference month over month, BTC sold value, how much they've been selling here. So they've been probably using cash, diluting to fund operations and things like that while they do hodl. And that's okay because I think Bitcoin price is going to go up in value. So like I said, I'm okay with more hodl as we get closer to the halving event than normally if like in a bear market. Why would you hodl in a bear market? But that's just me. Okay, last 4 quarters. So this is updated numbers that we do have here right now. You can see here that the revenue has been increasing, and it is currently increasing in the current quarter we're in. So that's a good sign there. Last 4 quarter operating costs minus depreciation has been coming down here, which is also good to see. And then cost to mine 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation, really good price here, 10,000. I don't know if they're including all of the costs in the self-mine or the cost of operations. When I look through the SEC filing for the 10K, for the 10K, at cost of operations, as you said, electricity and some other things in there, but it didn't sound like they were including like employee wages in that. Potentially that's being included in the general administrative. Maybe that's why it's low. I know they have pretty good power costs as well, but I don't know if it'd be that low. So that's just a little question mark that I have there. But other than that, that's great because they're like one of the lowest ones here. Bitcoin mine quarterly has been increasing as well. So that's good to see. Debt to equity, lower is better. That has lowered as well. So that's good to see. Current ratio is higher, 4.6 times, being able to pay off their current liabilities with the current assets that they have on hand. So that's good. Total current assets now 155 million. Fantastic. And that's probably even higher now because this is based on Q4, right? If we include the latest number that we have for the BTC stack that they have here, 91 million is probably higher than that, probably closer to maybe 175 million, maybe even 200 million. And then total current liabilities has been going down, which is also good to see that. Okay, we didn't do, so as you're aware, they have Odessa, which is their own facility here. They also run Alvarez, Bear, and Chief, which are joint ventures for them. Okay, and then here's what we have as far as numbers are concerned. We'll get into my kind of metrics here in a little bit. Current assets has increased to 155 million from 54, so about 100 million increase, so that's good there. Total assets also increased by about 150 million or so. So from 416 million to 566 million. So that's good. Total current liabilities, like we talked about, just recently dropped to 33 from 38. So that's good there. Total liabilities, 74 from 73. So those increased a little bit here. What did we have an increase in here that we didn't see before? 74. That includes 18, 17. There's not really anything that was majorly increased here. Was operating lease liabilities increased here to 6.2 from 3.6, and then deferred tax increased to 5.2 from 1.2. That was basically it on that one. Okay, so total liabilities and stockholder equity is at 566 compared to 416, so that's good there. Revenues, when we look at it here, they recorded 126 million revenue in fiscal year 2023. They came out to be about 43.4 million in revenue for Q4. That's numbers we're going here with. Cost of revenue at that point came in at 13.2 million. That's a slight increase from where we were in Q3. General administrative was also down actually, so that's good. 22.5 million from 23. That is good to see. Depreciation stayed pretty close to where it was. Change in fair value of derivative assets. That was up here, negative 13 million from 4. So I think that's good. Correct me, I think that's good. And then power sales was down also. Realized gain. They had a realized gain here, looks like, in Q4. And then what else do we have here? Cost of revenue minus depreciation. Cost of revenue was 4.8 million here. So I actually have, they were positive on it. So they actually had money left over, which is good. And then if you look at the prior quarter, they were down 18 million on that. So they were positive here. That's good there. So like fourth quarter was looking much better for them. And then if we look at the actual numbers here, cost of revenue minus depreciation came in at 35 million. Gross profit was 11% here for the fourth quarter. Minus depreciation was at 49%. So that's looking much better there as well. And then let's see here. What else do we have here? Loss before taxes was only positive 4 million. So they didn't lose anything compared to the negative 18 million. So that's good. And then net gain or loss, they were up 198,000 for the quarter, where they were negative for the prior quarters as well. So that's a good sign there. I think that's why the stock kind of popped a little bit here in the morning. It was up like 10% before it started to fall back down while Bitcoin was falling down. Okay. So that came out for the year. They were negative 10 cents per share based on 252 million shares basic and diluted. And then for the quarter, I kind of estimated they were probably break even. I mean, 188,000 profit on 252 million shares. You're not going to have maybe less than a penny per share at that point. But that's still good. At least they came in somewhat positive based on my numbers here at least. Okay. Going up here, look at some metrics here. Custom mine, 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation. We talked about that, 10.024 thousand. So that's good. For the year was 10.6. Debt to equity, we talked about that. Current ratio, talked about it also. Book to value ratio, or book value of equity was 491 million. Price to book ratio was 1.72. Enterprise value came in at 684 million. EBITDA net profit was 21.6 million. EV to EBITDA was 31.6. And then revenue obviously was 43 million. General administrative compensation was 22.5 million. That's 51%. That's still too high for me. Would like to see that come down to be below 20%. That's kind of where I like to see things. So for me, that's the only negative that I'm seeing here, is that it's still relatively high, but it has been coming down here at least over the quarters here. So it's getting a little bit better, right? As they're being able to mine more, generate more revenue, that's coming down, but that still seems like quite a bit there in general administrative compensation for the year, or not for the year, for the quarter itself, right? If you look at the year, it came in at 85 million, 67% of basically revenues, general administrative on that part. But that also includes probably share-based compensation, things like that. I don't think they split that out, do they? Let's see here. Costs, power, change in fair value. Let me see here. Cost, no, they don't put out share-based compensation as separate. Okay, so that is it. Otherwise, pretty good, right? Going in the right direction. They're going towards more positive numbers instead of negative numbers, which is looking good. And then my numbers here for them, let me see here. I was off by quite a bit. I was surprised. They reported 43.4 million. I have it 48.2 million based on what they reported for each month for the self-mining side of things. And I'm not sure why I'm off that much. Usually I'm pretty close to the numbers here, but with them, I don't know if they're just selling at different times. They're not getting the same averages I'm getting for Bitcoin prices in those months. You know, they might be holding it for a little bit longer, trying to sell at a higher price, and maybe that's it, and they're selling it actually at a lower price. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Not sure if it's my numbers or if it's just the way that they're selling their Bitcoin different times than what I'm thinking. Okay, that's just it. So we're off. Got to figure out. I'll try to figure out what that reason is and see if we can get that closer to the 2.5% that I want to be in or under. But that is it on that one. So that did offset things a little bit here. Not much. I still think they should be between $5.29 to $7.93. They're currently at $2.85. And, you know, with Cipher, the big overhang, I think, for them is the Bitfury shares that are out there. They did give out some of those shares to their shareholders, Bitfury that is, and to the CEO. But that's still quite a bit there. I think maybe that's the overhang there, really. But we'll see how the stock does with, obviously, the next quarter here. It did really well today. It was up while most miners were down, so until Bitcoin started falling. But we'll see, okay? So that's kind of what we're looking at. So let me know if you guys have any questions, comments down below. Let's go on to the next one, because otherwise this is going to be like a 2-hour video. Okay, Course Scientific schedules full fiscal year 2023 earnings release, conference call and webcast. It's going to be easy. After financial markets close on Tuesday, March 12th, 2024, management will host a conference call and video live audio webcast to discuss the results at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. So definitely check that out, because I think it's going to be interesting to hear what's going on there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I may have to re-listen to the recording, actually. But yeah, I'll see how I can. We'll see if I can. No promises, but I'll see if I can listen to it. Okay. But that is it for that one. Short and sweet there. Course Scientific announces February 2024 production operation updates. So this is actually a pretty good update here from them. There's a lot of good stuff in here. So Adam Sullivan stated, we increased our self-mining hash rate by 300 petahash, largely by redeploying earlier generation miners. These miners have been replaced with more efficient S19 XPs units in January, using newly activated capacity, capitalizing on strong spot Bitcoin pricing. Quickly reactivating these miners boosted our hash rate and enhances our Bitcoin earnings, which is true. So, right, the economics there are in play right now, where Bitcoin is pretty high. It makes sense to plug them in, right? If Bitcoin falls a little bit more, maybe it's not going to be so economic at that point that you want to turn them off. But at least they have the option to turn them on and turn them back off, depending on where Bitcoin price is at. So that's good there. From a capital expenditure perspective, we continue to manage our investments carefully to ensure our ongoing financial strength. To that end, we completed all miner payments due in 2024 for the S19 XPs and the 21Ss were previously announced, enabling us to focus our remaining investments this year on new miner purchases and our organic infrastructure growth plans, stated Mr. Sullivan. So that is great news, right? So they're basically without any debt on those things right now, which is great. Self-mining metrics here is 883. The hosting was 307. Self-mining energized hash rate was 18.9. And then Bitcoin sold was 952. So, and I've seen this a couple months now in a row where it seems like they're selling less than what they actually mine for self-mining and hosting. So either they're starting to build up a hodl position, or they're using the difference there of Bitcoin to maybe pay off something else. Maybe that's what's going on there. I'm not sure. But they're not reporting any hodl here. So they either hodl or they're paying that, or they're using that to pay off something else. But you can see here they had 952 that they sold here, 1,114 in January, where they mined close to 1,400 here in January, and they obviously mined pretty much 1,200 here in February right now, right, for self-mining and hosting. So that's kind of interesting there. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Self-mining, I think there was something else I want to talk about. There was. Here we go. New miner deployments. So the company completed all payments due to the Bitmain S19 XP miners and completed all payments due in 2024 for additional 2.5 exahash Bitmain S19 21 miners previously announced, while also accelerating their delivery to begin in mid-March 2024. So that's great news. So they're going to get those in even faster. They can grow their hash rate maybe even more before the halving event. So a lot of good news here for Core at least. But we still want to see their financial results here, which are going to be coming in next week. So that's why I wanted to point that out. But let's get into Core here really quick. Core has, as last I know, 184 million shares. Stock price is at $3.64. Market cap 673 million right now based on that. We don't have the performance for them over the last 12 weeks because they switched the ticker symbols to Core Z from Core ZW or Core ZQ, whatever it was back then. But they're up in the past week, or at least last week they were up 19.4%. They were up a little bit in the beginning of this week as well. We'll see where they continue to go there. Current hash rate 18.9, future hash rate 21.4, so they still have obviously some growth left, which is good. Their BTC production has been coming down, right? And we're seeing that with pretty much all the miners, especially the ones that they weren't growing, right? Core wasn't growing for a while because they were in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They're trying to get out of that, so they were just kind of flatlined a little bit. We'll take a look at that figure down below. But that has been going down, but it should be going up here, I believe, as they install more miners here, which is good. Until the halving at least. Once the halving happens, we're going to get cut in half, like everybody else. Okay, month-over-month difference, BTC hodl, they don't hodl anything as best I know. BTC per exahash efficiency 47.2, so that's actually pretty good. That was actually better than what we looked at here with, who was it that we looked at? Cipher. I think Cipher was at 45 or something like that. BTC sold, you can see that they're pretty much selling, for the most part, looks like less than what they are actually mining here. And I have 1,114, that doesn't seem right. I'll have to check that out. And then hash rate, you can see that they were kind of flat throughout the middle of the year. They were actually coming down in hash rate, and then they started going back up here recently, so that's good. Revenue has also been increasing, which is good to see. And then hash rate difference month over month, BTC sold value. We'll get into the quarterly results when they actually report. Looking at institutions. Institutions have also been increasing here. So 24 institutions now. Shares also increased to 30 million from 20 million, so that's good. Their percentage went up to 12 from 5.2. But we still don't have any buy ratings or analyst ratings on them for strong buy or hold, and no price targets right now. So you guys are stuck with my price targets for the time being. Let's see what else we have here. Going down here. So we installed in February some miners. So we installed these 140 terahash XPs, it looks like, and then the 2.5 exahash that they have on order here, the S21s. Those are included here now as well. And I had them running for approximately 27.2 days out of the month. And we also installed some of these older miners here that they stated they're basically re-energizing. These are over here. If we look at it, those are the 98 terahash miners. Okay, that got us to the 44.5 million. We added 2.4 million in transaction fees in there, and that goes inside with Bitcoin average price in February for us. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at. Based on all that, if we look at them now, I still think they are way undervalued. They should be around $23 to around $35 based on just their revenue alone. But we want to see their financial results. I think once we see their financial results, we see how their debt structures are looking, how they're paying their current obligations, things like that. how is that all looking? I think that'll give us more information that we need to know, especially for potential investors. I think they want to see at least 1 or 2 quarters of financial results before they, start committing. But we are seeing institutions jumping in, which is good to see, because then you might have regular retail investors jumping in as well. Okay. The other good thing would be for them to get above $5 per share. If they can do that, I think then that opens up for more institutions possibly to buy in as well. All right. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Otherwise, great month for them. If they can continue to operate like this, they should have no problems going forward, I think, based on what we're seeing right now, at least. Okay. So that's it for core. Next is going to be DMG here. DMG is going to be short and sweet. So DMG mined 49.3 Bitcoin with 1 exahash realized hash rate. Realized they're saying this is what they were actually operating at, but I think they have like 1.2 exahash of what their nameplate is, what they're supposed to be at. So that's kind of what I'm going by with. DMG's Bitcoin balance as of February 29th was 454 Bitcoin. As an update on Bitmain T21 shipments, DMG expects the first half of its 4,550 unit miners purchase to ship in March. So basically this month now. So that's good there. That's all we got really. Short and sweet to the point. So let's take a look at DMG here really quick as well. DMG has about 168 million shares outstanding, last noted at least. The stock price is 42 cents, market cap 70 million. Performance over the last 12 weeks has been, okay, I mean, from 12 weeks ago, they're up 43%, which is pretty good. From 8 weeks, they're only up 5.9. From 4 weeks ago, they're only up, well, they're down 6.3%. And last week, they were up 0.7%. So not a huge growth there. Current hash rate 1.2 is what I have them at. Future hash rate is supposed to be around 2. 454 BTC is valued right now at 29 million, roughly. And then the BTC production here, obviously, one of the better months they had was in December. A lot of transaction fees being added to that as well. And then they've been falling down here to 49 here in February. Month-over-month difference, BTC HODL. You can see how that HODL has been keeping track. BTC per exahash efficiency at 41, so they're in the 40s at least, so that's not bad. BTC sold numbers there, 63 sold, looks like. Hash rate, 1.2 exahash is what I have them at. Revenue peaked in December with 3.07 million, but it has come back up a little bit here in February. Obviously, Bitcoin price has been going up, so that's helping out a lot of miners as well, including them. Hash rate difference, BTC sold value, you see all that. Going down here, institutions stayed the same, it looks like 9. Shares actually decreased a little bit here to 1.9 million. Percentage went down also to 1.14. We still have 1 buy rating on them with price target of 74 cents across the board right now. And then as far as what we had operating here in February, we had them operating for about 24.86 days out of the month with an additional 13.6 thousand, I guess it would be, being added to the revenue side of things for transaction fees. It should be 136,000. So they're actually probably operating less than that because I have it at, yeah, that should have been 136,000. But that's kind of how I got to 24.6. So if I add a couple 100,000 into it, or at least 100,000 into it, they would be probably operating for even less than that. But that's kind of what we got to 2.458 million, 2.45. I mean, we're close there. We're pretty close. 2.45, yeah, 2.46. We're close. So I'll update this probably later on, and then Patreon members will have access to it. But that's kind of what we're looking at there. And then I have them between 53 cents and 80 cents. They're at 42 cents. I think they're still undervalued slightly based on what we're seeing here right now. Okay. Analysts are saying 74 cents. So that's kind of in line with what I'm seeing at the high end, 80 cents potentially for them, being a smaller miner and not really growing that much going into the halving event. But they have other things as well that they do. They're bringing some revenue as well. Okay. So that's it. Let me know what you guys think of that one. And then we got Hut 8. We got 3 more to go. I got to take a sip of water here. My throat's going to start drying up. Okay. Hut 8 operations update for February 2024. Here's what we have. Deployed miners, 74.1. Deployed hash rate, 7.2 exahash. Bitcoin produced, 292 Bitcoin. Bitcoin on balance sheet, 9,110. It seems like they actually sold more than they mined, for self-mining at least, in the month of February here. You can see they're down to, they were at 9,116 prior month. So they definitely sold more than they mined here. See if there's anything else in here that I wanted to point out. I don't think there is. We've covered a lot of the stuff already in the past, so I'm not going to bore you guys with that stuff. You guys can read all that stuff. But let's take a look at the numbers that we do have here for Hut 8. So Hut 8 has 88.5 million shares outstanding. Roughly, stock price is at $7.52. Market cap, 665 million. Performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been great. You can see 12 weeks ago, they were down 19.5%. From 8 weeks, they're down 14.6%. From 4 weeks, they're up 1.2%. And last week, they were actually up 8.06%. So it hasn't been great, right, compared to some of the other miners. Current hash rate 7.2 roughly. I don't know if they're going to get to 7.3. They were at 7.3, but for whatever reason, I think they probably just got rid of some miners potentially, 100 petahash of old miners or something like that. Maybe. I haven't found out that information yet. BTC HODL 9,110, sorry. BTC value is at 582 million right now, and that's 87% of the market cap right now. That's just crazy, right? And there's a reason for it. Okay, BTC mined monthly, sorry. December was the best month, 453. It's been coming down. I mean, they're down quite a bit here. They're down 150 some, 160 some Bitcoin just in the last 2 months, right? So that's not really great. Looking at their month-over-month difference, BTC HODL, you can see that their HODL has been kind of flat here at around the 9,100 mark or so. It's been up a little bit here and down, but it seems like they're selling more than they are generating here since December, it looks like. In December, they were at 9,195, and obviously down here and down again on that one. So we definitely want to take a look at their financials when they do provide those, see what the heck's going on there, how much they're bleeding, and how much they're paying for debt and things like that. BTC per exahash efficiency 40.61 for February. Hash rate, you can see that that's obviously peaked here when they merged in November with Hut 8 merging with USBTC. They got to 7.3 for the combined company, but that's come down here a little bit. Monthly BTC revenue, pretty flat here for the last 2 months, it looks like. And then hash rate difference, BTC sold value, and then last 4 quarters revenue. Obviously, we won't get into that until we get the quarterly numbers for them, actually. And then we'll also talk about these numbers here a little bit, but here's what we have. Institutions and analysts actually decreased to 164 for them from 172, but shares increased to 9.6 million from 7.4. Percentage also increased to 10%, which is good. And then we still have the same 2 buy ratings, 1 hold rating, 1 underperform rating. Price targets actually went down here a little bit on the high to 1741 from 1757. The average actually went up to 10.25, and the low went up also to 5.16. Okay. Now, as far as the miners are concerned, here what we had going on in February, it looks like they were operating for about 23 days out of the month. We had 815,000 in BTC transaction fees for them, and that got us to the 14.563, which is what I'm getting also here, 14.563 as well, right? They obviously have also other revenue streams in there, but they don't report on that, so it's kind of hard to figure that stuff out to see how much they're actually making. We'll probably figure that all out when they report the quarterly results. Okay, now, based on these numbers here, these numbers are not going to be very accurate because I'm using a lot of the old data that we had with Hut. With Hut 8, if we look at the last 3 quarters numbers, right, we have all of these over here. These were before the merger, right? So we really don't have that good data. I mean, we're only using the self-mining data anyways here. So this is kind of the way things look. And based on that, that's kind of the numbers that I have for them right now, between $9.14 to $13.71. Analysts have quite a bit higher here. So we're not too far off at least. But at least we're not that low at $5.16 like they have them here. Excuse me. We have them somewhere between $9.14 to $13.71. Once we get a couple more quarters in, I think we'll have a much better understanding of what they really should be valued at that point, and see how they are operating as a combined company at that point. Right now, this is obviously just a best guess estimate right now as far as where they should be. Right? Rating, like I said, rating here, do not use old data because it is old data before they were merged companies here. A lot of the stuff. Also, what else was I going to say? Right. Oh, the reason that they are valued the way they are right now is we haven't heard any really concrete information as far as what they're planning on growing, how they're going to grow that, miner purchases, ASIC purchases, things like that, to see where they could be possibly going in the next 12 to 24 months. Right now, they're pretty much stuck at 7.3. So, as you know, investors are looking for growth, and if they are bleeding cash right now for whatever reason and selling more than they have to, that's also not a good sign there. So you got to look at all of the stuff here. Obviously, their HODL position is 87% of their market cap. I mean, you include their assets, they're probably, well, we don't have the numbers for the combined company, but I'm guessing the assets are going to be probably somewhere around 300 to 500 million themselves alone. So that's already going to be valued higher than the market cap here is right now. Okay. But that's it. Let me know what you guys think of that one. We got to move on here. Keep this going. Marathon. Okay. Marathon Digital Holdings announces Bitcoin production and mining operation updates for February 2024. Management commentary. The operational challenges that commenced in January continued into February and reduced our operational hash rate and our Bitcoin production for the month, said Mr. Fred Thiel. The Garden City and Allendale sites, which are operated by Applied Digital and collectively represent approximately 43% of our energized hash rate, experienced unplanned outages due to transformer and transmission line maintenance. Last week, Garden City was re-energized. Allendale was nearly back to full strength. However, while Garden City is now fully operational, infrastructure issues at Allendale are still being resolved as capacity at the site is being ramped up. Okay, so they're obviously still trying to figure things out there. And they had a pretty bad month here in February. They had a bad month in January too. Right, they had a fantastic month in December where they were pretty much uptime was pretty close to 100%, but then things went pretty south pretty quickly here for them. Okay, let's see. You guys can read all that stuff there. I'm not gonna bother with it. Bitcoin produced 833. So this is with the joint ventures. Based on what they reported here, number of blocks 110. If you look at number 5, footnote number 5. Going down here, these metrics are Mara pool only, do not include the joint ventures, right? I wish they would separate the stuff out because I think it's misleading to investors. And the only reason I say that is the joint venture stuff, as you guys know or may not know, typically does not get reported as revenue unless you have over 50% controlling interest in that joint venture, which I believe they have 20% in the Abu Dhabi joint venture. And the other one that they are in, where are they at? Paraguay, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paraguay or Argentina, I can't remember, one of those two. I don't know what their controlling interest is in that. If it's not over 50%, they shouldn't really be reporting as revenue. So I would like to see them break it down by self-mining, which is their own self-mining, and then joint venture and how much you actually have in that joint venture, break it down that way. Make it a little bit easier for investors, I think, because investors are coming in here, they see this, but I think it's a little misleading. Yes, you got 833, but part of it doesn't get reported on revenue side of things. Okay, it gets reported on assets. But that's just it here. So based on the 110, I got them to 700. Let's take a look at Marathon here really quick. I got them Marathon. What did I get them at to? 724.46 based on the 110 blocks that they mined here through the Mara pool. I pulled all the data in, edited it all up. That's kind of what I got right there. So that was about what a difference of 108 Bitcoins. 108 Bitcoin was generated through the joint venture part of things. Okay. So I just wanted to point that out. Energized hash rate is 28.7. Part of that obviously is also the joint venture there. And that's being down here. I believe they report this. So I believe the all other part of it here, which they're reporting on their sites here, is the various sites, host, various. I believe this is joint venture. I don't know how much of it is joint venture. I'm guessing that is just the joint venture. I wish they would spell it out. Joint venture, separated out. This is what we have right there. Would make it a heck of a lot easier, obviously. All right. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. This is their financial figures. I don't think there's anything else in here. There isn't. So let's take a look at the numbers that we do have here for them. And we'll get on to Riot here. We'll call it a day. All right. So Marathon, 267 million shares outstanding. Market cap, 5.9 billion, almost 6 billion there. Stock price at $22. Obviously, it's come down a little bit here. The performance of the last 12 weeks has been actually really good here. They're up 47% from 12 weeks ago. They're up 42% from 8 weeks ago. From 4 weeks, they're up 13%. And then last week, they were up 12%. So that was definitely a good run here for them. Current hash rate, 25.6. I believe that's just for self-mining. Future hash rate, 31.6 right now, based on the numbers that are being reported. And that's the other thing with Marathon. They don't provide the greatest information as far as what miners they're buying and how much they're paying for them, what the tera hashes are on those things. I don't know what is up with Marathon and the team there. They used to be a lot better at this. I don't know whether they're getting lazy at it or they're just trying to make it hard for guys like me and others to figure out what they actually have. Maybe that's the whole point of it. Who knows? Okay. BTC HODL, that should be up. I think they said 16,000, so I need to correct that. What was it? Where'd it go? 16,930. 16,000. See, told you I was going to make a mistake. 16,930. So that's valued at $1 billion right there. That's 18% of the market cap right now. Going down here, BTC self-mine. You can see how December they had a fantastic month. And I included only what they self-mined at that point, 1,800. And then in January was down to 986. February down to 724. Right, a huge decrease, pretty much like 50% decrease from where they were. Obviously, 20% of that was attributable to transaction fees in December, 10% in January. Now we got about 5% in February right now. Okay, but still, nonetheless, not the greatest operations side of things. And that's kind of one of the things that I always harp on them is just their operations are all over the place. They'll have a great month, 1 month, and then they'll be crappy for a couple months where things are not working out great. So that's the only gripe I really have with them and providing the proper data or at least separating data out. But other than that, they're obviously a monster here. Okay, looking at the month-over-month difference, you can see that as well. BTC HODL has been increasing as well. BTC per access efficiency way down here, 28.25. Like I said, in December, they had a really good efficiency. Obviously, Bitcoin transaction fees helped out as well. And then BTC sold. They reported selling, what did they report? They reported selling less than that, 200 and some. Where is that information? I forgot. It's out here someplace. But they sold a portion of the Bitcoin. And where did they write that? 290 Bitcoin. Right, if you look at the numbers, I have the numbers over here someplace. Where are the numbers? There it is. So in January, they had 700 Bitcoin that were pledged. Excuse me. And then it's gone now as of February here. So I don't know if they got added back into the treasury there, and that's how they were able to grow that quite a bit there, 15,741. And then they added, obviously, 219 to 16,950. That's over like 1,200 Bitcoins that are being added into it, while they only mined 800 total, 850, or sorry, 833, right? So I'm not sure what's going on with the 700 there, where that went to, and that's why I'm based on my numbers here. I'm showing that they might have sold 344 here, and that's with me adding the 700 back into it potentially. Okay, hash rate has been increasing, which is good to see. Continued growth, that's great. Revenue side of things, I mean, look at this, 76 million here in revenue in December, and they were way down to 42 million in January. Now they're down even more to 36 million. So they're losing a lot of revenue based on not being uptime, not having the right uptime, or being having uptime more in line with like 99%, 90%, or something closer to that. Okay, so it's definitely costing them there. Hash rate difference month over month, BTC sold value, how much they've been selling. Last quarter's revenue, we'll get into that when they already reported. So we're good there. Institutions continue to buy in. 404 institutions now from 351. Shares increased substantially here to 110 million. That's now 41% of the company being owned by institutions. We still have the same buy ratings. So 2 strong buy ratings, 2 buy ratings, 5 hold ratings, 1 underperform rating. Price targets increased to $30 here from them for the high, $24.79 for the average, and $14.30 for the low. So it's definitely gone up. Based on the numbers here, and we look at February, it looks like they were mining for about 16.2 days out of the month right now. That's best I could figure out. And that's including the 3.1 exahash they have for joint venture stuff. We added, what did we add here? We added 1.8 million in transaction fees to it as well. And that's got us to the 36.1 million here, which is based on the number here, 36.132. Perfect. Based on the 724 Bitcoin that was generated for self-mining. Okay. That's what we're working with right now. And if we go up here, I have in between $17.82 to $26.73. They're at $22.26. I think they're pretty fairly valued. Institutions are looking a little bit higher, about $30. Obviously, as you know, the P or PS multiple here could go higher as we get into a bull run. We've seen it last cycle where it's gone up to 35.40. So if we include that, say let's just bump it up a little bit here because we're getting into a bull run potentially. Well, then at that point, we're looking at P 25. They would be undervalued, right? If you want to go even further, go to 30, they're even more undervalued. So that's kind of the way things shape up right now. But as we get more data on the current quarter we're in, things like that, those things will get updated. And obviously, we'll see how they're going to be doing going forward, where Bitcoin price is, where the network hash rate is, all of that fun stuff. Okay, I think we covered that one. So like I said, monster in the space, but they just have problems with operations. Hopefully with them buying the 2 facilities that they bought, that's going to solve some of their issues. Fingers crossed. Okay. Because it would be great if they could operate close to like 95, 98% uptime. That'd be fantastic. If they could get to 100% or close to that, that would be even better, I think, for not only for investors, but for them, because you want those machines running as much as you can to pay them off faster. Because if they're not running, they're not paying themselves off, and you have machines just sitting there, wasting time and wasting precious potential there. Okay. So that's it for that one. Let me know what you guys think of that one. And finally, Riot here. So let me take a quick sip of my water. Okay, Riot announces February 2024 production and operations update. Riot produced 418 Bitcoin in February 2024. And also, if you haven't seen the video with Bryce McNally and Anthony, they did an interview with Jason Les here last day or so. Great interview. They actually asked really good questions there. And Jason actually kind of fessed up, that their uptime hasn't been great. That's one of the metrics that they are working on to improve. That's why they're buying new miners to exchange some of the older miners in those facilities to make them more efficient or improve the uptime there as well. He did state that they have only a 345 megawatt PPA deal at that place as well. And that's why they're really trying to build out Corsicana. And then you can see here, obviously, Corsicana being built out here, and it's going to be pretty much all immersion at that place. So that's going to be a lot better for the miners. We'll let the miners last longer, run better, run cooler. It's very beneficial, obviously, in that regard there, especially being in Texas. You know how hot it can get in Texas. But there's some of the stuff going on here. They're building that out, and they should be operational here shortly. So that's obviously great. Also, one of the same, Jason stated that they're going to continue to provide their hash rate of what it's supposed to be running at. So like they reported here, the 12.4, even though they were running a lot lower. Some companies provide like the average hash rate, which I don't like because that's not being very honest or genuine about what your operations are like, right? If you're at 12.4 and you're operating at 10 and you report that you're only 10 on average, well, then you got 2.4 exahash that's just been sitting around doing nothing. So I think we need to know that, and you should be running at 12.4. So that way we can grade you on how well you're doing. And he said that they're going to continue to use that metric as well to grade themselves to improve on that. So I hope they do, because I've been harping on them. Everybody else has been harping on them to get their production figures up better. Even if they do get the power credits like they reported here and the demand response credits here as well, that still doesn't seem to offset all the potential that they have wasted here by not potentially mining. So they got to figure things out, okay? But here's what we got. Bitcoin produced here, 418. Bitcoin held, 8,067, so that has pretty much increased. Looks like they pretty much included all of that here, or kept most of it here. Deploy hash rate, 12.4, so that's kind of what we have here. And then here we go. So during the month, we also announced a new purchase order with MicroBT for 31,500 miners to be installed at the Rockdale facility. The installation of these miners will increase our mining efficiency and uptime and will further expand hash rate capacity at our Rockdale facility to 15.1 exahash. Approximately 17,000 of those miners in this order will be used to replace miners that are not performing to our expectations, right? And that's kind of what he said in the interview. So if you haven't seen it, like I said, watch the video. Very good. Based on what I've listened to. The only thing is obviously now that they have to basically execute on all this stuff, right? And we'll see what kind of execution they have in Corsicana as well. All right, let me see if there's anything else. There's more pictures. I think the same pictures. Yep. And then there's their growth here. Q2, they're trying to get to 21.4 exahash. And then Q3, 27. And then Q4, 31. So they do have obviously very good growth plan ahead. Now they just have to execute, like I said. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. There isn't anything else. Finally, let's get to Riot here. This is going to be the last one. And Riot has right now 253 million shares outstanding, market cap at 3.1 billion. Performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been great. Obviously, you can see that here. And there's a reason for it. Obviously, their production and everything else has been hitting them pretty hard. They've been also pulling on the dilution trigger quite a bit. That's also been a contributing factor to it as well. I think once they solve some of these issues that they have, they'll be in a much better position. But right now, 12.4 exahash. Future hash rate, about 40.8 roughly here. They still have a lot of growth ahead of them. So good growth here in 2024, more growth in 2025, which is great. And then their current HODL at 8,067. Is that correct? Do I have that right? Gotta double check sometimes because I'm thinking of all these numbers here. 8,067. Yep. Okay. That's valued at 516 million. That's 16% of the market cap right now. BTC production here, as you can see here, has been coming down here. Has been a great. December was their best month. Month-over-month difference. BTC HODL has been increasing, which is good to see. Like I said, I like seeing that increase as we get closer to the halving event. BTC per exahash efficiency, 33.71. I think they're better than Marathon on that part. Yeah, Marathon's 28.5. So they actually beat Marathon this time around for efficiency, 33.71. So congrats there. And then based on what they sold, looks like they didn't sell anything, right? Rounding error, I have one that they have actually gotten for free, looks like. Hash rate revenue, hash rate has been increasing here. It's kind of flatlined a little bit here over the last couple of months, but it's going to continue to increase here, potentially sometime this month or next month, following month. Revenue, all over the place. Best month was December, 26.3, down to 20.85. It's still pretty good though. It would have been much higher if they were able to run at a more operational uptime. The hash rate difference, BTC sold difference, you can see that. Going down here, institutions, 420. Institutions continue to buy in. 109 million for them. 43% is being owned. Analyst ratings, still a lot. 4 strong buy ratings, 7 buy ratings, 1 hold rating, 0 underperform, 0 sell. Price target $26 for the high, $20.09 for the average, and $11 for the low. Okay, going down here as far as operational side of things is, I think the miners that he's talking about here are the ones that are like the 90 terahash miners. I think maybe those are some of the ones that are causing him grief here. Okay, that would be my thoughts on those, potentially. Obviously, they're also pretty old, so time to change them out. Get rid of them or swap them out, sell them, whatever you can do with them. But February had them running at about 19.33 days on average here, and we added about 1.167 million in additional transaction fees to them based on what we're seeing here recently. And that got us to the 28.47 million, which is perfect. So all those things have worked out, and you can see here that on some of, well, at least on their numbers, came really close here. So happy with those numbers from Riot, at least I'm able to. But Cipher, for some reason, I'm just way off on, like I said, so I'll have to figure that out. Okay, currently, based on the current numbers that we do have here, we're going back to the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in. I'm at $8.39 to $12.59. They're currently at $12.25. I think they're fairly valued. I think analysts are looking at potential growth forward, right, at Corsicana facility, that's going to give them, generate more growth for them, which is definitely true. But with the halving happening, it's going to obviously cut them in half. Well, the current revenue plus whatever revenue they get on top of that is going to be obviously additional, but that's still going to take a little time. And if Bitcoin continues to go up higher, that's definitely going to get offset there. So currently, I think they're fairly valued where they are. A little bit on the higher side, maybe a little undervalued like we did with Marathon, right? If you think it's going to go up higher, higher multiple PE, then at that point, I would say that they're undervalued, right? Because then we're getting them to $18 for the high, $12 for the low, and they could definitely be much higher. So I think the analysts have them a little high here. Also, something to note in the interview that I just remembered, he was speaking about the hosting, how they're losing money on it. And it seems to me, at least my understanding of it was, maybe my understanding wasn't correct on this, but the understanding was that they're putting more stuff into hosting that is obviously contributable to hosting, and then also possibly their own operations, but they could be hosting their own machines as well. And so there, maybe that's why they're tossing some stuff in there and making it less profitable there, making it more profitable on the self-mining side of things. Maybe. I don't know. But just kind of one of the things that I overheard. I remember listening to it and thinking, that seems kind of okay. I see what they're possibly doing there. But yeah, definitely nice to see things improve here for them. Okay, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully my camera works this time around and I don't have to speak to an empty space. So let's see if we can get my camera to work. Yeah, my camera's working tonight. Okay, so things are looking pretty good, right? We're having a little correction in Bitcoin, which isn't a big deal. We're having a correction in miners, which isn't a bad deal either also. If you have a long-term view on this, good time to dollar cost average in, not financial advice, but definitely a buying opportunity. I like the quote. I can't remember who it's from, but be fearful when others are greedy. Be greedy when others are fearful, right? So I've kind of learned to live by that rule here as I've gotten into investing in stocks and things like that. But other than that, we'll see what happens later on this week. We obviously have more updates from a couple of miners left. And then we also have some of the quarterly financial results that have to be reported for fiscal years and quarterly results. So we still have a lot of work left to do. But we'll leave it at that. Always my little sales pitch here at the end of the video. And let me see where to go. Getting tired here. So access to all my spreadsheets is available through Patreon. That's still $8 a month for you guys. And there's also like a $4 and a $5 tier possibly available as well. If you pay a year in advance, you get 10% discount. And you also get access to my Patreon membership through there. Well, Patreon membership for sure, but Discord membership as well, where we have a private server where we discuss all of these things there. Options, MicroStrategy, all that stuff is in there. Okay, but that's it. We've gone really long here. I really appreciate you guys watching this. If you made it this far, thank you. It's been a long one. A lot of information, a lot of stuff to go through. So I greatly appreciate you guys holding through this. That's it. We'll see what happens tomorrow, and then we'll see whatever happens later on this week. I'm rambling on here. I'm getting tired. Thank you. I'll see you guys.